Right, playing the theme tune. Here we go. Good evening and welcome to another Fortean Words. Yeah, we're a bit late because I found a Twitter account called, is it People Selling Mirrors, is it, Albert?
Yeah. Also, my timer's just gone off, so make of that what you will.
So yeah, me and Hobbit were hooked on people selling mirrors, trying to take pictures without getting in the picture. It's hilarious.
And I've literally found one that Stephen J. James is. Stephen J. James is Mirror Emporium has now gone into the garden. Not shown is his cow, brackets, not for sale. Right. I'm going to intro this, and then I go and get my dinner, or what?
We'll talk about. I'll talk about some stuff. I'll tell you. I'll do I'll find an unexplained history so you can go and do your dinner.
Hey, be right back.
Yeah. Right. Let's have a quick look. Right. Hold on a sec. Man in China ends up in hospital with light bulb stuck in his mouth. It seems that people are willing to do just about anything these days if it means getting exposure on social media, as evidenced by the case of a man who had to go to the emergency room last month for getting a light bulb stuck in his mouth, which is better than having it stuck in your ass, I suppose. The incident began when the man, identified only as Mr. Chen, walked into a fire station in Zhejiang with a shirt covering his mouth. When he was asked what was wrong, he could only make muffled sounds. Turns out he placed a light bulb in his mouth as part of an online challenge, but was unable to open his mouth wide enough to extract it. Concerned the bulb would shatter if they tried to yank it out, the firefighters took Chen to the local hospital where doctors had to use a special device to deliberately dislocate part of his jaw. Fortunately, with a bit of patience, they were eventually able to safely remove the bulb from his mouth. So there you go, kids. Don't do dumb shit that you see on the internet. China again. Has anyone seen the pictures from China Zoo with the bear that literally looks like a bloke in a suit? There's no clip, is there? Oh, hold on. Let's see if I can. Yeah. I don't think you look at Twitter. Anyway, just have a look at... just Google it. You'll find it. The controversy began when visitors to Hangzhou Zoo... I went to China with only a dog in it once. It was a Shih Tzu. In China, posted up footage of one of the sun bears standing upright on its hind legs. The clip quickly attracted quite a lot of attention, with several social media users maintaining the animal is little more than a person wearing a costume. Since then, the zoo has been quick to play down such rumours. When it comes to bears, the first thing that comes into mind is a huge figure and amazing power, but not all bears are behemoths. And danger personified, the zoo wrote in a statement that was intended to be from the perspective of one of the bears. We mainland bears are petite, but smallest bear in world. Not as things stand, it's not absolutely clear if the bears are actually the real deal or not. You can check out some footage, but I suggest you don't. You should be able to find it. Pretty much everyone's talking about the China Zoo bears. Fairy Magana.
We got big.
Did you see the shit? Bears. Did you see the shit bears, Hubbard?
Huge They're the best bears around. Other people, they got bears. They're not as good as our bears. We got the best bears, and Taiwan's going to pay for it.
Did you see the shit bears of it?
They are very shit, those bears. I keep wondering, like...
Are they the bear equivalent of the pathetic sharks?
Well, I was going to say no. The bear equivalent of the pathetic sharks is the panda. So it's literally like the creature doesn't want to exist, and you know everything about the panda's pathetic, right?
Yeah, they're rubbish. They're absolutely rubbish.
Well, I'd noticed on Twitter, Jesus Christ is Lord is trending.
Oh, okay then.
Very good to see that. INRI, Jesus Christ is Lord.
What were we going to talk about? I thought.
Well, did you use the thumbnail provided?
Not yet.
I was going to say that would garner some interest.
How about this one then? It's on this day in 1978. Joe Dante's Piranha was released.
Oh, I don't think I've seen Arachnophobia.
You never seen Piranha?
I thought this episode was going to be called. Is it TBC?
Yeah, well, I didn't know what we were going to do, so.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, yeah, you come up with the titles before, like.
Yeah, if I know what we're doing before, then I'll put a title up before.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
know. Well, fair enough.
Right.
Did you know James Cameron did Piranha 2?
Yes. He's done quite a lot of sequels, actually. Because Aliens was sequel to Ridley Scott's film, wasn't it?
That's right. So does that mean James Cameron now has to do a sequel to the Hovis advert?
Yeah. I've seen Piranha 2 or Piranha 3 Double D. I didn't see any. Did you see any of the remake Piranha films?
No.
Celia Sodders says sun bears are scrawny, gangly looking things, a bit like sloth bears, though the sloth bears are fucking mental, incredibly aggressive. They're more feared than tigers in India, apparently.
Wouldn't, like, sloth denote it being, like, it's slovenly, it doesn't move very much?
Or slow, isn't it? They obviously get really pissed off.
Is it like, is its attack like an escalator? Is that why it's feared?
I've got a bit more news. Remember the yacht that Princess Di took her final holiday on? Well, that sunk today.
Well, that's a good segue into it because actually I didn't know she had a yacht. So carry on.
No, it weren't her yacht. It was Dodie's. Actually, the story's got some weird shit in it that's quite interesting. So the yacht was called the Cujo. It was a favourite of Hollywood superstars. So it sunk 18 miles off of Beaulieu-sur-Mer. I don't know how to say that in French.
Yeah, in French that's pronounced Beaulieu. Sorry.
Beaulieu,
I was thinking about
Sur-Mer on the French Riviera on Saturday. It sank.
That's what it is. It's Beauty on Sea.
7 people on board were rescued following the accident, but the boat ended up at a depth of almost 8,200 feet. So I don't think anyone will be bringing that one back up.
I only remarked on how it was like Clacton on sea, but not.
I'm sure that's Red Dwarf, you know, that joke. You know, the skipper of the Cujo issued a mayday. Mayday? Mayday? What? Can it be any bank holiday?
Oh, yeah. That does sound like a Red Dwarf joke.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Why Mayday? Obviously, you can tell us why Mayday if you want, Hobbit.
Oh, I also posted in the 37 chat today because this is sort of leading into the thing, but just before we get into it, where's Fortean Words? It's a blue icon, right?
Yeah.
There it is, found it. I found the modern day Rachel Carson.
The modern day Rachel. Do you want to get into? Are you itching to get into Rachel Carson, or do you want me to finish this?
Oh no, not particularly. I mean, yes and no, but because I'm still eating my dinner.
This is the bit I wanted to say because you picked up on this as well, Hobbit. The origins of the yacht. Hold on a sec. I'm still looking.
Yeah, that's right. It was a bit suspicious.
The origins of this yacht are pretty dodge pot. Right, the Cujo was built in Italy in 1972 for businessman John von Neumann after he told Italy's Baglietto shipyard that he wanted the world's fastest motor yacht. She was fitted with two 18-cylinder engines that ensured she had a top speed of 42 knots. Is that quick?
Well, 18 cylinders is a lot, and 42 knots is fast. I think the Sea Cat was about that speed. Do you remember Sea Cat?
Is that the twin hold thing?
Well, it was like it's a catamaran, and do you remember when we had like vessels which would go over water? Do you remember
the hovercraft?
Yeah, I've been on the hovercraft.
I had a model of one of those when I was a kid.
Super Sea Cat was a shipping company.
So anyway, I'll just do this bit, and then we can get off this. Van Neumann then sold the boat to the son of Adnan Khashoggi, the world's richest arms dealer. Then he sold her on to his cousin, Dodi Fayed.
The guy I was thinking of is Jamal Khashoggi, who ended up chopped up into pieces in the Saudi embassy in Turkey. I'm wondering if it's the same Khashoggi.
Do you remember that joke from the young ones? The ambassador is here. Bring him in. Which part of him do you want to see? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that's the thing. So back in like the 1980s, there's like back when you could make jokes about how vicious and violent the Arabs are, and it's like 40 years later. Oh look, something that was a joke and a parody in the young ones has now come to pass. But I've been rereading Herodotus recently, and this is nothing new. It's been going on for thousands of years. And I've got a feeling that if Herodotus was describing how vicious and violent the Arabs are, and the young ones are describing how vicious
the one Queen did a song about.
Well, the fact is, it's like, look, they've been like, maybe it's kind of like it's their behaviour. It's not just a one-off event.
Yeah, I know it means. I know it comes from Mayday, which is the French for help me. Yeah, I knew that. Right. So, do you want to start talking about your bit of research then, Hobbit?
Oh, right. I'll do a summary, and then we can just like faff around for the next 2 hours.
I love the way the thing's called Mong Bay. That's eBay for Mongs, is it?
I think that is just normal eBay, but you go there when drunk or high, and then you end up like buying something and going, "Oh no, why did I buy that?" It was defunct in 2004. Oh, I remember that.
What's that?
What's the top speed of Sea Cat? That's what I wanted to know. Oh, anyway, the summary. Rachel Carson was the Greta Thunberg of her era, and she was like, will someone think for the poor innocent mosquito, stop using DDT? And then Richard Nixon says, okay, I agree, I'm going to stop using DDT. And then the rest of the world went, oh, well, Richard Nixon's our president, we better do what he says. And everyone banned DDT, and then malaria came back and everyone died. The end. Oh, but the World Health Organization are now saying that, you know what, we actually need DDT because it's safe and effective.
Well,
and I'm not saying that.
Of course they're saying that because it's a carcinogen. That's why they'd say that.
Well, I'm not so sure. But, bring it.
I think there's a few American GIs that take you up on that point. Well, probably the one
that's Agent Orange though.
That's what DDT is.
No, DDT's not Agent Orange. Agent Orange is a defoliant, which then got rebranded as Roundup, which is glyphosate. DDT's something else, and that's the thing. DDT is much maligned, and I think we ought to see it come back in our lifetimes. I'm not being ironic or flippant about that. I think it's great stuff. But unlike Rachel Carson, you see, I actually care about the plight of Africans, what with being an Eritrean myself. And I don't want to see Africans die of malaria. But cunts like Greta Thunberg and Rachel Carson's wants all the Africans to starve to death while suffering from malaria. I've coined a term for this. I call it weaponized care. Because they're both saying, like, oh, we care so passionately about stuff. Yeah, love, but the way you care about things means you want to ban useful stuff, which is going to result in the deaths of millions, or in the case of Greta Thunberg wanting to ban ammonia, billions of deaths. So,
also,
I will get a bit more
Thunberg
into it.
doesn't mind a cobalt being mined by child slaves, does she?
Sorry? Oh, Greta Thunberg, no, she's quite happy with them dying. No, Greta Thunberg smiles when African children die, just like Rachel Carson did. Actually, if you scrolled up, there's an article about Rachel Carson in the chat.
Yeah, I've got it up already.
Do you want to read a bit about that? Because I'm really enjoying my dinner at the moment.
Okay,
I
Peanuts
hope the chat
creator
appreciates me masticating.
Peanuts creator, hence the bit I've put up. Peanuts creator Charles M. Schultz touted Rachel Carson as a heroine and a role model for girls in his comic strips. That may well have been the case, but the more I learned about her as I matured and my interest in nature and the environment deepened, the more she became my hero too. PBS recently aired... Go on then.
I was going to say it's heroin. She's not a male, so it's heroin.
Yes, heroine. Heroine, not heroin. PBS.
Oh, sorry, I keep thinking the German spelling.
PBS recently aired a 2-hour. What? So she's knocks you out, knocks you out like a light. PBS recently
general anaesthetic.
Recently aired a 2-hour documentary on the lifetimes, personal struggles, and influence of Rachel Carson, the soft-spoken, retiring, self-effacing woman who became an unlikely champion for nature and helped launch the modern environmental movement.
That's a bold-faced fucking lie. She was like one of the biggest self-propaganda. What's when you big up yourself? Self-aggrandizer?
Self-aggrandizing, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But anyway,
Carson's seminal work, Silent Spring, represented a necessary rebuke to the
objection. She's a woman. She can't make semen. You know, the seminal work literally does mean, like, issuing forth of the male member.
Yeah. The ascendant hubris of the atomic age, one symbolised by radioactive fallout, duck and cover, and the arrogant slogan "Better living through chemistry." I thought that was the Chemical Brothers. Alchemistry. This post is a commentary. The views expressed are not those of the author, not necessarily Mongabe. Oh, God. I have something in common with the sassy character Lucy, Charlie Brown's eternal frenemy in the iconic Peanuts cartoon series by Charles M. Schultz. We are both great admirers of Rachel Carson. Well, do you remember that Family Guy when they beat up Lucy? No? Am I the only person that saw that one?
No.
Yeah, because she used to... Charlie Brown used to run and kick the ball, and she used to kick it out the way so he'd fall over. Do you not remember that in the Peanuts?
Oh, what a bitch. I hate the women in Peanuts. I only liked it because of Snoopy and Woodstock.
No, she was a bitch, but there's that other girl that really fancied him, but he weren't interested in her, was he?
Oh, well, then he's a dumbass. Actually, yeah, fuck you, Charlie Brown. In fact, the first time I ever heard of Rachel Carson as a kid was an avid fan of the syndicated Peanuts cartoons in the funnies section of our daily newspaper. Do you remember that when the daily newspaper used to have cartoon strips? Yeah, when did they stop doing that?
Do you remember George and Lynn from The Sun, where they were never had any clothes on?
Oh, I really like not George and Lynn. The Love Is ones on the Daily Mail.
They were weird. They were fucking weird.
Well, it was good. My girlfriend liked it.
It's children
She used to send me
standing there with no
drawings.
clothes on, Hobbit. It's fucking weird.
Well, my ex-girlfriend used to send me drawings based on it.
Oh, okay then.
So I have fond memories of that one.
I suppose it was a more wholesome time back then. In fact,
It certainly was.
a section of our daily newspaper collected in cheap paperback books, which I devoured from cover to cover. You can see Lucy mentioning Carson in the... You know, if anyone was going to mention it, it'd be fucking Lucy. The opinionated fucking pain in the ass bitch.
Well, of course.
Peanuts.
Lucy also really likes Greta Thunberg, if she was still around.
Yeah. I remember to this day how on more than one occasion Lucy mentioned how she looked up to Rachel Carson. I had no clue half a century ago just who Rachel Carson was, or whether she was a fictitious character like Lucy or not. As a youngster, I hadn't yet heard of Carson's seminal book, Silent Spring, or realised my own life's vocation. Was Silent Spring a seminal book then, Hobbit?
It was the one
Was it a jizz book?
which catapulted her into literary success, yes.
Right, go then, Hobbit, you can carry on now.
I can't. I've got my mouth full.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So, Rachel Louise Carson, May 27th, 1907, April 14th, 1964, was an American marine biologist, author and conservationist. Well, she ain't Greta Thunberg, 'cause at least she was qualified in something.
Well, no, that's the thing. You see, back then, the caliber of dickheads they had was much higher quality than...
Yeah.
I mean, if you say what you like about Henry Kissinger, I don't think anybody would say he was incompetent.
Yeah. Whose book Silent Spring, she forgot to say seminal book Silent Spring, and other writings are credited with advancing the global environment movement. Is that a good thing? Peanuts creator Schultz touted Rachel Carson as a heroine and role model for girls in his comic strips. That may well have been the case, but the more I learned about her as I matured... Is she saying the same things over and over again, or is it me?
You know how journalists like to do that because they pay for the word.
More retiring, self-effacing again. The documentary with Hollywood star Mary Louise Parker, don't know. Providing the voice of Carson.
That's something that journalists and police have got in common. They both repeat the same things over and over again, but word it slightly differently.
Yeah. I'll go find out who Mary Louise Parker is now. Oh, I think is she the bird from Weeds?
That show sucked.
Yeah, I think it's her.
I mean, that show should have been basically Scarface, but it wasn't.
So what's it about? I never watched it.
It's terrible. Don't watch it.
Oh, okay. But I'm gonna watch it because you're not telling me what it's about, so I'm curious now, Hobbit.
Oh, woman drug dealer sells cannabis.
Is it Breaking Bad but not good?
Breaking Bad if it was boring and if like the main character didn't get shit done.
Oh, okay then. Mary Louise Parker providing the voice of Carson is an affectionate, intimate portrait of the very private, shy biologist and writer who grew up in western Pennsylvania. Like I did. Carson was born in 1907 on a small hardscrabble. She was born in 1907 on a small hardscrabble family farm near the Allegheny River upstream of Pittsburgh.
That's a long question, but yeah.
Well, that's what she said. Or did she
That's
just
what
mean
the journalist said, yeah.
Yeah. Her family struggled to make ends meet. Encouraged by her doting mother, precocious Rachel was a serious bookworm, aspiring writer. Now I suppose she would have been an aspiring SoundCloud rapper, would she? And keen naturalist who explored every nook and cranny of her family's 65-acre farm. By the age of 8, she'd already begun writing her first stories about animals, and she became a published writer at 10. Something of a loner, she sensed her calling in life from the time she was a child, when other girls of her age would still have been playing with dolls and toys. She excelled academically, and in 1925 graduated first in her high school class of 45.
There's a lot of similarities between her and Greta Thunberg. The only difference is she's not a retard.
Yeah. Carson attended the Pennsylvania College for Women in Pittsburgh, today called Chatham University, majoring first in English and then biology, and writing pieces for the College Student Union newspaper and literary supplement. From there, after a summer course at the Marine Biological Laboratory in Woods Hole, Massachusetts, she began graduate studies in zoology and genetics at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Carson earned an MS. What's an MS, Hobbit?
Multiple sclerosis.
Okay, she earned a multiple sclerosis from Hopkins in 1932 and landed a... Is that a master's something?
Yeah,
it's
a master.
No, she went to university and she got a debilitating autoimmune disease.
Yeah. No, they only affect the brain.
It destroyed her brain anyway. It's more like ME, I think. From Hopkins in 1932, and soon landed a job in Washington as a science writer for the U.S. Bureau of Fisheries. You know, as you do.
Mm.
Which later became part of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. Thanks for that. I couldn't have figured that out unless you told me. A federal agency where I myself once an employee, and for which I have served as an environmental consultant now for many years.
Oh, well, that explains why the adulation for Rachel Carson.
Yeah. It's, you know, unless women are specifically represented, they really can't figure it out, can they? And they don't understand the abstract ideas, do they?
Well, the thing is, like, you get that thing, like, you've seen the drawing, and it shows, like, a glass half full, and it's saying the glass has now been tilted, draw the corresponding waterline, and apparently, if you get women to do it, they'll just, like, not understand gravity and draw the same waterline.
Oh, okay, then.
Yeah.
What, you mean, as if the glass was upright?
Yeah, so they don't understand that when you tilt a vessel containing a liquid, the liquid will move to the lowest centre of gravity, and that's why... I mean, surely you should just be able to do this from observation and then just imagine what it does in your mind. You see it happen enough times, but no. Also, apparently, women struggle to draw a bicycle from memory.
Oh yeah, I think I did that in psychology.
So I think there's like a thing like men will hear voices in their head, and occasionally, like, I'm not going to mention who. Sometimes they think the voices are not of their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not real, but like disjointed.
Yeah.
And but men hear voices in their head. Men can conceptualize things. I mean, one of the things I quite like doing is taking apart machines in my mind and just like seeing how all the cogs and pulleys work.
Yeah.
And then looking at it in real life, and it's always a surprise when it goes, oh, actually no, that pulley is spinning in the opposite direction to what you imagined. But usually I get it right. Anyway, point being, women can't do that. Rachel Carson was unable to conceptualize that. Banning DDT, I know I keep jumping to the punchline here. Banning DDT would result in mass malaria death. But then again, she did say, I really hate Africans and malaria is too good for them. I hope before I die that I can develop super malaria, which is even more painful. I am evil. I'm going to give birth to Greta Thunberg. I might be paraphrasing.
I'm Rachel Carson, destroyer of worlds.
I, Rachel Carson, hate African people, and as Rachel Carson, wish I'd studied microbiology because I, Rachel Carson, want to give super malaria to all of Africa.
So you reckon you're big buddies with Bill Gates, then, do you?
Oh yeah, and you know, if it wasn't for it's. Greta Thunberg is a daughter by another mother. That's why I keep comparing the two, because they're very similar. It's just the only difference is that Rachel Carson, bitch, was actually competent and could do things, as you'll find out when you carry on reading this fawning adoration
God,
about
then
her.
your turn now. Sounds like you finished.
Right, just get a bit of podcast ASMR.
So it's the death of Rachel's father is the next bit.
Oh yeah, okay. So, is it before or after Barack Obama in these pictures? That's the fly
So we'll put a
swatter.
lot of crap in.
That's the bloke kicking
It's
the
two down.
window.
It's two down from Piranha. If you can see the Piranha picture and the sinking boat.
Right. So there's Greta
Above
Thunberg.
Bewley.
Who's that woman you posted? The one that looks like she. You know what that woman looks like there? She looks like, you know, that female scientist in Planet from the Apes. She's got the same expression on her face.
Well, we should be talking about Loretta Fuddy later.
Oh, is that the name?
Loretta Fuddy Duddy.
God. Oh, look, there's a picture of Rachel Carson from Peanuts. And here we go. Right. So, death of the father, you say?
Yeah.
Father. The death of Rachel's... So, hang on, is this a woman or... the
Woman.
Oh, maybe she's Welsh. The death of Rachel's father and the twin sister... Oh, not twin sister. And her sister meant she was soon the sole provider for her aging mother and two young nieces.
So is there the Rachel? Is there the Rachel Carson kill list? Then is there? Were her father and sister in the same light aircraft? Were they?
Or a boating accident.
Yeah.
She began writing articles on the side for the Baltimore Sun and other publications. Ultimately, she was able to make a career of nature writing in the 40s and 50s, and even gain, it says gain here, and even gain a measure of financial security for herself and her family with a trilogy of three evocative, that's her words, not mine, books about the ocean.
What, like Jilly Cooper jobs, were they?
Well, let's see.
The very able seaman whipped her knickers off. Is it that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's actually very much like that, and that's what the criticism later on comes about stuff. With the things of the ocean, the true lover of life. So, Under the Sea Wind, 1941, The Sea Around Us, 1951, and The Edge of the Sea, 1955.
Is this called do they call this the Sea Trilogy then, do they?
She complains that her first book didn't get enough publication, and it's like, you do realise there's a war on love. She's like, yes, but the marine animals are more important than your war. She actually said that. That's not just me making it up.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. She's like, how dare you? How very dare you? My job is to come up with ideas, not solutions. These books inspired readers with the same sense of passionate wonder Carson herself felt about Mother Earth. Ugh, I have all three of them.
You say passion and wonder. I say subnormal IQ.
But of course, this author of this article says I have all three of them.
Yeah.
Due to the huge success of the best-selling The Sea Around Us, which won the 1952 National Book Award for non-fiction, that's one of the bits of criticism, because it clearly is fucking fiction. It's as non-fiction as an inconvenient truth.
Do you know what the Silent Spring is about then, do we, or not?
Yeah, it's like, oh, wouldn't it be terrible if all the animals died and then the next spring it was all silent because there's no bird song? Well, that's what will happen if you keep painting your houses with lead paint.
We've got until 1946 to stop the world burning, or we're going to die. Is that what she said?
If you continue to put gasoline in your cars, then the poor little birds will not fly, and
they'll be dead before 1958.
That's it. It's pretty much. It was 2012, but like in 1942.
Wait, more like 2017, isn't it? It was this year, weren't it? Because Greta Thunberg.
No, 2019, wasn't it? Was it 2019? Al Gore? It was like we'll be underwater.
No, I'm talking, Greta
Yeah.
Thunberg said we've got 5 years left to save the planet, didn't she?
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I
where's
think
she now?
the time came up for that this year, didn't it?
Isn't she in like a Romanian prison or something? I don't know. She
What,
got
with
caught off
with Andrew Tate?
Yeah,
she been trafficking cam whores with Andrew Tate, has she?
well, yeah. What do you think they're all doing out in the field over there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Oh no,
when
she
we
is.
look-
No, look, they ain't
She's
looking
in-
at the grass. I tell you.
I think she is in Chokey somewhere because she just went. She went to some like country that don't fuck around with shit like that, like Dubai, where that vibrant American
was
across them.
screeching at the men, and it's
Yeah.
like, did you realise that raising your voice to men means you're breaking the law? I think that's a convenient excuse, really, because what it is just like, look, you're being too uppity and vibrant, diverse,
Yeah.
so you're going to prison. You know, we don't stand for that here in Arab
What's she called?
countries.
The sassy truck? Is it the sassy trucker? Is it a TikTok name or something?
I think she's called Ayo Gibbs me that for free. But yeah, it turns out I suppose Islam's right about women. I don't know. Is Islam right about Rachel Carson?
The fairy Morgana says birds are still here. She must have done something right.
You see, if it wasn't for all the taxes on DDT, we'd all be dead by now. So, due to the huge success of a best-selling bit... Oh, yeah, right, so okay. Carson was even able to purchase a cottage on an isolated stretch of the main seashore. It was here, during the secluded main coast, along the secluded main coast, surrounded and comforted by the trees, tides, and creatures that she loved, that Carson wrote, "Oh, I really hate it here. There's too many Africans milling around, not getting malaria. I should work on my magnum opus, Silent Spring," released in 1962. The title refers to a spring sometime in not too distant future, one that comes without beloved bird songs, because all the birds have been exterminated by pesticides, or what Carson referred to as biocides.
Hold on, I'm just going to throw my shield out for Rachel. It is a thing that needs to be looked at, though, doesn't it? The effect of pesticides on the ecosystem.
She's not going to shag you. She's dead.
Oh. That's never stopped Hemi before.
Yeah.
You necrotic simp.
But yeah, it is. I think it's like all of these things. There's a germ of truth, and there's a germ of truth in it, isn't there? There's a tiny bit of truth, but they just completely exaggerate it.
Yeah, but the thing is, whenever women get it into their silly little heads that, oh, something's bad, their response to it is like, the cure is worse than the disease. I mean, do you remember when Angelina Jolie says, "Oh, breast cancer's bad. I know, I'll get a double mastectomy."
Yeah.
But you don't have breast cancer. Yeah,
But I
can't
might
have breast cancer if you do. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but what if you get lung cancer? You know, what if you get cancer in an organ which you do need? What if you get heart cancer, Angelina Jolie?
Or arse cancer.
Yeah.
Oof.
I'll ask her. So she said that referred to them as biocides because they are toxic to all life. Fucking untrue. Oh, that's like saying, oh, chocolate's a biocide because it's toxic to dogs. Therefore, it's toxic to humans. It's like literally the most delicious substance on earth.
Yeah, it's taking stuff to its most ridiculous conclusion, isn't it?
And that's the problem. You see, women, they get ideas, right? And they have got compassion, but this is where the compassion gets weaponized. And they get into a hissy fit. And no one just goes, there, love. Yes, you're right. Come on, what's for dinner tonight? Instead of that, it's like, oh, yeah, let's pretend to take her seriously. It's a joke that
you're going to do women, know your limits.
Literally, women know your limits. You belong in the kitchen. You shouldn't be doing this. It's like, look, it's not doing anybody any favours when you worry your silly little heads about these things. It just results in everyone getting embarrassed and awkward, and a joke which was taken too far because people took it seriously, And now Africans are dying of malaria. Is that what you want, Rachel Carson? Do you want Africans dying from malaria? Because that's what you've got. You're the resulting of millions of African
to quote
children.
Harry Enfield, is that what you want? Because that's what'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. Rachel Carson, the destroyer of Africa.
I am become Rachel Carson, destroyer of Africa.
Maybe Christopher Nolan will do a Carson as a sequel to Oppenheimer. Maybe they can get the same actor to play both roles, because look at this fucking Skeletor bitch. She looks like that bloke in Oppenheimer.
What? Cillian Murphy?
Yeah.
It literally looks like that. It's just a stretched face, sunken eyes. It's the look of a Grim Reaper. Who's just like, my plans will come to fruition.
About her.
She's literally like, yes, it's going to result in millions of Africans dying in pain. She's literally like that Chaos Warrior in Dawn of War, where she's like, it's as if 1,000 mouths cry out in pain. Here we go.
Or Obi-Wan Kenobi. I felt 1,000. It's like 1,000 Africans cried out in pain all at once.
It's like 1,000 Africans saying, "Hey yo, we can't afford the quinine. Gives us that." Yeah, it turns out DDT is a lot cheaper than using anti-malarial drugs, which keep failing because malaria is fucking tough.
Do you remember that drive from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the one that sounds like 100 people saying "wop" at once? Do you remember that one?
No.
I think it's from one of the books that they didn't make a film or TV series about. But yeah, there's a drive, and whenever you use it, it sounds like 100 people saying "wop" at once.
Yeah, because they had a number of like fast and light travel, and the popular one is the Impossible Improbability Drive, and then there's other ones as well.
I can't remember what the one that the WAP one was called, but I think that's from So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, I think.
Yeah, I liked Mostly Harmless.
I like the Somebody's Problem Field. That was somebody else's problem field. That was a good one.
Yes. I'll read this excerpt from the thing because the author of this insists I read it. In chapter 1, A Fable for Tomorrow, she wrote, hang on, Greta Thunberg's voice. There was a strange stillness, how dare you? The birds, for example, Malamore, where had they gone? Many spoke to them, puzzled and disturbed. The feeding stations in the backyards were deserted. They didn't want what's that fucking rotten fish the Swedes have?
Surströmming. Yeah.
No, they did not eat the surströmming. The few birds seen anywhere were moribund. They trembled violently and could not fly to the ABBA concert. It was a spring without voices. I first read Silent Spring more than 40 years ago, diddling my clitty to it. It was Carson's searing indictment of the widespread indiscriminate use of DDT, dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane.
Or as normal people go, oh, that's a nice alt history book, alt future book, sci-fi book. Like literally, that's what normal people do. Because there's all kinds of things, where the X disappears and it destroys the world.
I read a book, right, and I was part of this book club, and I thought, this will further and broaden my view, because I'm too regimented in my book. And you know what? It turns out the reason I'm regimented in my appeal is because I have this thing called discrimination, also known as discerning taste. Because there was this really hyped up, I can't remember the name of the author, but she was so
ELJ.
No, they didn't. They did get me to read American Gods, and that was one of the better books in the book list. But anyway, that's
Neil Gaiman, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was.
No, he is known as Neil Gaiman. Now,
he's pretty fucking good, isn't he? You seen his Twitter?
I try not to.
Yeah.
Now,
he's angling for more work on Doctor Who. I'll put it that way.
Oh, okay. This book, right, was it was a female author, and that was like a big deal because it's like I have a minge I was like, right, okay, what's the book like? Well, never mind that. I have a minge. Oh, it's not science fiction, it's speculative fiction. I was like, yeah, but all science fiction is speculative fiction.
Yeah,
You
it's
fucking
like
pretentious
you
cunt.
start, you have a premise and you go with it, don't you? Like in
Yeah.
Logan's Run, everybody's got to die at 30, or
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 Stellaris, no, it's not Stellaris,
oh god,
Solaris.
the pretentious one.
What, Solaris?
Yeah, that's pretentious, isn't it?
Well,
There's
yeah,
the French,
but
there's the French one and there's the Clooney one, aren't there?
wait, what? There's a French one.
Yeah.
I've only seen the Russian one.
Oh, is it Russian? Oh, I thought it was French.
Oh, I could understand how you'd think it was French, but no, it was Russian.
Oh, I thought it was
And
I thought it was Ponzi French.
it's Ponzi Russian. But then again, considering that Russian high culture is French, that makes a lot of sense why you confuse the two. The dashes they have, though, those are distinctly Russian. But point being, anyway, in this story, it was kind of like, what if there was like an alternative future where humans died out and there were like these chimeras which were genetically modified humans, and there's cat people, and in order to heal...
No, that's not Solaris. Solaris
No, I'm
is the one
talking
with
about
the
this
with the imaginary planet. Solaris is the one with the imaginary planet thing, isn't it? That
I know,
you can see
but
whatever you want.
I was using Solaris as an example of speculative fiction. All science fiction is speculative fiction.
Soylent Green is people. You know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the big sort of thing in this book, which I remember before.
Oh,
giving
Fahrenheit
up on it,
451. You know, what if everybody burnt all the books? But
yeah,
no, nobody does it for a basis for a political ideology. Do that?
or Starship Troopers. What if I wrote a book about corporal punishment and how it's my masturbatory fantasy, and then some Dutch scumbag misinterprets it, doesn't even read the book, and just makes it fascist power fantasy?
What if libertarianism wasn't crap? That's what
Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers is, what about them power armors? But anyway, so in this
what if I was to talk about all the cool science fiction stuff that we don't use in the book? That's that
we don't use in the film. You mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
Or the book. They don't, because he's on the shit. It's like a treatise almost, isn't it? It's not really.
Have you read it?
Yeah.
I remember the beginning. I had this. I think it was a simulated combat scene where he was in power armor, but the rest of it was just like talking about how great it is to beat up people. And
I think it opens up and they're talking about power armor. And I think the opening bit might be a bit of action, but like there's no action in the book because it's just him climbing up the ziggurat, lickety split, as Arnold Rimmer would say.
Oh, all I seem to remember from reading the book was just like how great corporal punishment is, and there needs to be more. And naughty schoolboys and girls need to be spanked underneath the head teacher.
Oh, here you go. Alphabet Cat knows about the 100 people saying WAP on the Heart of Gold, the improbability drive spaceship. Oh, is that the one with 100 people saying WAP?
I thought that the other one was a different ship, but anyway, it doesn't. Let's focus back on Rachel Carson and her speculative fiction, rather than talking about some book I don't even know the name
about
of.
Better speculative fiction.
But yeah, but literally, it was better speculative fiction because it's like, what if cat people could purr and then heal injuries by purring? It's like, this was like the hard speculative fiction. Oh, it's so great. She's won multiple awards. That basically was like the Greta Thunberg of authoresses. Like, isn't it great? Move aside, Isaac Asimov. Fuck you, Frank Herbert. Here's some vacuous bint with what if cat people purred and bones got healed. I first read Silent Spring. Oh yeah, that's it. So widespread indiscriminate. No, it wasn't indiscriminate use. It was quite discriminate use of DDT. Like you discriminate, going, where do mosquitoes come from?
I don't think it was indiscriminate use because they'd just like throw it up in the air and it'd land wherever. That's indiscriminate use.
No, it's like, where do mosquitoes go? Well, sewers, swamps, canals, any other sort of stagnant bodies of water. Right, spray it there and spray it on walls and stuff because it'll stay there for months and it will kill fleas and ticks. And so it won't just kill mosquitoes; it will kill like all the nasty insects you don't want.
Small children,
Like, for example,
dogs.
I mean, here's an example, right? Rachel Carson, unfortunately, she wasn't famous enough back in 1942.
Yeah.
But if she had a way, DDT wouldn't have been used because, you see, back in the end of World War II in 1945, there was a serious outbreak of typhus throughout Europe. And there were many, like, I want to say, who's someone that's been rescued from prisoner of wars? Survivors? Victims?
Yeah, POWs. POWs.
And that's it. And they're all suffering from typhus, which, by the way, it's a bacteria which is carried on this tick, and when the tick bites, it causes a nasty itch, and the itching causes people to keep scratching until they break the skin, where the bacteria gets in, and that's where the infection spreads, and that's why it's really deadly. So what the British soldiers did, they had DDT. They were going into these camps, and they were spraying the victims with DDT, literally gassing them. And then, as the reports of the survivors said, when they put the cool white mist over me, the itching immediately stopped. The crawling stopped. So it was like almost instantaneously, it was killing the ticks. And the people were breathing in. I mean, they're literally doing what I'm doing now, where they're going, DDT. Soft, cool clouds of DDT watermelon flavour. So they're literally breathing in big fat clouds of DDT vapour. And
I can see where she got her germ of her idea from, because the chemical in its breakdown products, DDE and DDD, cause eggshell thinning and population declines in multiple North American and European birds of prey species.
Citation fucking needed. You know, this is about as good as 20-mile-an-hour speed limits will save lives. I fucking hate 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. They can fuck off. Look, 30's fine in a town. Some streets you're not going to be doing more than 15 anyway because they're so built up.
Right, so DDT is an endocrine disruptor. It's considered likely to be a human carcinogen, although the majority of studies suggest it's not directly genotoxic.
You know, it's one of those things
DDE acts as a weak androgen receptor antagonist, but not as an estrogen.
So what's worse, right? You got some starving refugees, and you're going to give them like peanut butter and sugar and things like that, and it's like, but people have peanut butter allergies. It'd be better if they starved to death. What's worse, malaria, or this chemical's a bit nasty if you breathe it in?
So, yeah, but it also has chronic toxicity, primarily through the tendency of DDT to build up in the areas of the body with high lipid content. Chronic exposure can affect reproductive capabilities at the embryo or fetus.
Yeah, so you know what?
Other studies document decreases in semen quality amongst men with high exposures, generally from indoor residual spraying.
Well, they might all be dying of AIDS and malaria, but at least their sperm will be virile.
Yeah.
So DDT first came into widespread use by the Allies during World War II and is credited with saving the lives of many thousands of soldiers. It could be applied directly to human skin and hair with few or no immediate ill consequences, i.e. the low acute toxicity for humans and other mammals. Such was the gratitude of the world that Swiss chemist Paul Müller was awarded the 1948 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine.
A Lancet review stated that occupational DDT exposure was associated with increased pancreatic cancer risk in 2 case control studies, but another study showed no DDE dose effect association. Results regarding a possible association with liver cancer and biliary tract cancer are conflicting. So you might be right. So they're not actually sure whether it is or not.
You know, the thing about it, It's much like how the artificial sweetener sodium saccharin has been really maligned, and it turns out like the slagging off of sodium saccharin, it started at the same time aspartame was approved for commercial use. People say,
That's weird, though,
"Oh,
isn't it?
it turns out if you feed like mice their entire body weight in sodium saccharin, there's increased chances of bladder polyps, which might result in bladder cancer. Therefore, let's stop using sodium saccharin. Aspartame's a lot safer." And that's the problem. DDT got banned, and the toxic insecticides we're using now are proper harmful. So well done, Rachel fucking Carson. Malaria's a problem. The insecticides we've got are more expensive and don't bloody work. The nice thing about DDT is, yeah, it's nasty, but once you've sprayed it on the walls and stuff, it stays there for months. And it's effective for months. So you don't have to like breathe in fat clouds of DDT smoke all the time. But actually saying that, just a moment. Some podcast here somehow. So Paul Muller, medicine for discovering DDT was effective in killing insects. Unfortunately, also proved effective in killing birds and fish. Boo-hoo! As well as persisting and accumulating. Well, the thing is, the Chinese are going to fish all the fish from the sea, and then they'll eat all the birds. So when there's no birds and fish anymore, can we just use DDT to wipe out the
French
insects?
eat a lot of starlings, don't they?
Well, not so much anymore. What DDT and its chemical relatives like Aldrin, Albert Einstein again, Edrin and heptachlor did was to interfere with the biochemical process by which calcium was deposited onto the eggshells of those birds. Because of this eggshell thinning, when adults attempted to incubate the eggs sitting on the nests, the weaker eggshells would crack under the weight and the developing embryos inside would die. Boo-hoo. Cry me a river, Greta Thunberg. In other words, the raptors' ability to reproduce themselves was jeopardized. Raptors? Pesticides affect...
Raptors? What?
Yeah, it just talks about raptors now, just no relation to the rest of it. Pesticides affected them more than other birds because of the joint phenomenon of bioaccumulation and biomagnification.
Isn't raptor a group of birds of prey?
Okay, all right, Mr. David Attenborough.
Yeah.
By which toxic concentrations increased higher in the food chain. Yes, that's why I don't eat tuna. On a personal note, in 1974 and 75, I worked as a biological technician for the US Fish and Wildlife Service, you fucking cunt, assisting in contaminants research at the Patuxent Wildlife Research Centre.
The term raptor is derived from the Latin word rapio, means to seize or take by force.
Oh,
is that the origin of another word that's very similar?
Yeah, it is. Well, it is to seize.
Oh, hi. Wait, so why did they name a dinosaur after it?
Funny enough, the French, who use more Latin than we do, they don't call it.
So you're telling me in Jurassic Park they weren't called raptors? They were going to be called someone else. Rapers.
They weren't eating people.
So when he said it's a clever girl, you know, it's like
it's been a while since we've mentioned to take by force. Yeah, in French it's called to violate. They don't use the term to take by force. They say someone's been violated. Hey, have we got that Panther Dan song queued up? No. The Eminent Stickle was America's first one. Oh, yeah, here we go. Right, so, blah, blah, blah. Rubbing elbows with some of the very scientists whose research Carson had drawn, such as Dr. Lucille Stickel, director of the Centre from 1972 to 82. The Eminent
Did she name the Stickleback?
I don't know. Okay. Was America's first woman to become a senior scientist as a civil servant of the US government. Wow, what an amazing fucking accolade that is. As well as to be named the director of a national research. Wow, a minor office building somewhere has got your name. She was also a 1974 recipient of the prestigious Aldo Leopold Memorial Award. Oh yes, it's so prestigious. I mean, who hasn't heard of Aldo Leopold? Given annually,
was he anything? Was he related to the murderers, Leopold and Loeb? Do you remember that one?
I don't.
They murdered us, and they murdered a fellow socialite. They thought they were so autistic. They were so autistic. They thought they were too intelligent to be caught by mere police. Leopold and Loeb, quite an interesting pair of murders.
Not to be confused with Leo Frank.
Yeah.
She was also a 97 recipient of the prestigious AVO Award, the Professional Association of Wildlife Managers and Scientists. So that's basically like I've got an award from the Association of Trailer Park Supervisors and Assistant Trailer Park Supervisors. More broadly, Silent Spring represented a necessary rebuke to the ascendant hubris of the atomic age.
Wow, she was a looker, weren't she, old Stickleback?
That's Professor Stickle, okay.
Yeah.
Or Dr. Stickle. One symbolised by radioactive fallout, duck and cover, and the arrogant slogan, better living through chemistry. Have you read this bit?
Haven't we already read this bit?
I think you skipped ahead, didn't you?
I didn't.
But anyway, blah. So, President Kennedy, based on insistent nagging from Jackie, probably said, "I've been reading about Rachel Carson. She's so great." And Jack Kennedy, not John Kennedy, Jack Kennedy was like, "All right, shut up, you stupid broad. I'll do a scientific study into it to investigate her findings and accusations, which were largely vindicated." In the decade after her death, use of DDT in the United States was effectively banned. Other persistent pesticides were similarly eliminated in the following years because, fuck you, die from malaria, you cunt. Yeah. They were replaced by less persistent chemicals that are even more expensive and more toxic. Oh, it actually says here, by less persistent chemicals that tend to have higher acute toxicity for humans and require greater care and training for the Great! So we replaced a relatively safe insecticide that was effective with stuff that's less effective, more expensive, and more toxic to humans and other mammals.
Safe and effective.
Well done, Rachel fucking Carson. Fuck you, bitch. You know, I'm not going to America just to shit on their grave, but at the same time, seeing she's a marine and wildlife biologist, she'd appreciate if, like, there was, like, you know, some whale, what's that grey stuff they call aquagris put onto a gravesite. It's what she'd have wanted. Fuck you, Rachel Carson. But also, God said, fuck you, Rachel Carson. How did she die? Over the decades, Carson has been revered by Satanists. She's also been reviled by people with sanity. Someone even accusing of the deaths of millions of poor people from that. When they say poor people here, they mean Africans, from malaria and other infectious diseases in the tropics. But DDT has continued for years in some of those countries and does today. There too, malaria continues to be a scourge because mosquitoes inevitably evolve resistance to the insecticides and tend to get... Bullshit, they haven't. You spray DDT on the mosquitoes and they die. When you don't use enough DDT, they don't die. It's funny that. And I see I'm not the only person that's feeling passionate about this subject. We should take some deep calming breaths and just take for a while to realise what a cunt Rachel Carson is. And I'm glad she's dead, but unfortunately she's reincarnated as Greta Thunberg. So sometimes we're stuck with these cunts. Telling Rachel Carson's instructions for her own funeral, she asked that a reading be made up from the Elegiac, E-L-E-G-I-A-C, Elegiac, Elegiaci. I tell you what, I'm gonna post this scene be made from the at the edge of the sea. Right, so I'm going to post this term here. I reckon this is one of those made-up American terms like copacetic. It's not a real word.
Copacetic.
Yeah.
Where is it anyway?
Like,
whereabouts in the article?
I'm towards the end of it now because I'm fed up. I don't want to read anymore.
Yeah, it is. Isn't it?
The PBS documentary does it. Oh, of course, you'd be like rimming PBS's arsehole for this. Does a splendid job of covering all the aspects of Carlson's lifetimes and legacy. I highly recommend it. Yes. It is telling that Rachel Carson's structure and fuel. She asked that reading made from the shit, crap, final passages of not Silent Spring, but Edge of the Sea.
I can't find this weird word you're talking about a bit.
It's like type in Rachel Carson or type in elegiac.
Yeah.
Anyway, I posted the thing in the chat as well.
Have you got it up?
Passages. I don't care. It's copacetic, isn't it? It's basically copacetic. It means it's nice.
Of, relating to, or involving elegy or mourning or expressing sorrow for that which is irrecoverably past.
Fucking copacetic bullshit.
Copacetic.
What a load of bollocks. Contemplating the teeming... Oh, hang on, this is great. Contemplating the how dare you life of the shore, we have an uneasy sense of communication, of some universal truth of when I took a yacht to go from Sweden to USA because planes are polluting, I used a diesel engine.
Back on a diesel boat.
Yes. No, on Leonardo DiCaprio's private jet, where he allegedly did nothing at all.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, she's the
she
right
banged
age.
DiCaprio, right?
She's the right age. You don't like anyone over 23.
Yeah, that's true.
And with those puberty blockers they've put on her, you would love that.
Yeah, it turns out veganism is natural puberty blockers. when the body is too starved, it
fucking hell, do you remember that picture of her on that train? She was putting some away, weren't she?
Yeah, but she's kind of like the other anorexic vegan bin who was like eating like her own body weight in watermelons every day, but died of starvation.
Oh, the one on the desert island. The missus told me about that one the other day.
Oh yeah, yeah. She
died.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, the thing is, she died actually starved to death. It's what it says in the coroner's report. And yet somehow, despite starving to death, she still suffered lymphedema, which is a fatty disease.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if you're so fat, like if you're Anne Boleyn, and it basically means like lard is blocking all of your lymph vessels, and that's why you've got lymphedema, because all the fluid in there can't drain, because literally your vessels are filled up with lard. Oh yeah, anyway, back to Greta Thunberg. Flashing their microscopic lights in the night, what truth is expressed by the legions of barnacles, whitening the rocks with their habitations, each small creature within finding the necessities of its existence in the sweep of the surf? And what is the meaning of so tiny a being as the transparent wisp of a protoplasm? That is a sea lace, existing for some reason inscrutable to us. A reason that demands its presence by the trillion amid the locks and weeds of the shore, Malmo. The meaning haunts and ever allures us, and in its very pursuit we approach the ultimate mystery of life itself, Gothenburg. And this was written by Leon Kolomikiu, fucking Polish shop, Kielbasa, something or other. And yeah, Rachel Carson, fucking cunt. I'm glad she died, but how did she die? What if I type in Rachel Carson and see what Wikipedia tells me? Rachel Louise Carson, 1907 to 1964, was. She no longer is. Come on, I want her death. Fast forward to the good bits. Death. Weakened from breast cancer in her treatment regimen, Carson became ill with a respiratory virus in January 1960. Oh, the beautiful respiratory virus. No, we cannot keep it from my body. Who was to say that DDT could save my life, but at the cost of trillions of breast cancer cells? No, it is better I die and be reincarnated as a dwarf midget that has sex with Leonardo DiCaprio, allegedly. Her condition worsened, and in February, doctors found she had severe anemia from her radiation treatments, and in March they discovered that cancer had reached her liver. She died of a heart attack following immense agony on April the 14th, 1964, in a home in Silver Spring, Maryland. Her body was cremated, and everyone around said, fucking hell, that stinks. Let's get away from the toxic bitch. So that's the last we'll ever see of her. And then, dun dun dun. And then just imagine like fades to black, but then there's the sound of a crying infant, and then it shows like some hospital ward in Stockholm in 1992. How old is Greta Thunberg? Was she?
Don't know. No, she ain't that old. She's only about 17, 18, 19, 20. I mean,
No, she wasn't born in 1920.
No, her age is like 19 or 20.
Greta Thunberg. Greta
Thunberg.
Oh God, right. Greta Tintin, Eleonora Elman Thunberg was born on the 3rd of January 2003.
Jesus, really?
Yeah,
Fuck, I'm old.
I thought she was 20.
I've got boxer shorts older than she is.
She's only got 3 years left with for DiCaprio won't touch her.
Yeah, God, she's looking like Gollum now. Thunberg in Denver in 2019. My precious, But anyway, that's Rachel Carson Part 2. We can't talk about her until she dies in another 17 years.
Yeah.
Oh man, that actually no. Okay, no, that's another time. Everyone's always on about Greta and why she looks the way she does. What if it was intentional? That's all I'll say for now. What if it was intentional?
Do you think her mother's abusing her and she said, yes, you should go on a vegan diet?
Well, there was a very, shall we say, well-known thing back in the medieval courts of Europe of creating dwarves and, things to laugh at in the royal court. Potentially.
Okay. All right, yeah, I could believe that. But anyway, Rachel Carson is the Rachel Carson of the day, and I see. So her parents is Savante Thunberg and Malena Erlenman. So of course
her grandfather.
Olaf Thunberg.
Yeah, very suspicious character.
Prince Olaf Thunberg, 1925 to 2020, was a Swedish actor and director, perhaps best known as the voice of the cartoon character Barnes.
It's the great granddad then. It's his dad.
Which also include Lars Ekborg. No, what's his grandfather then?
Another Thunberg. He was like I think he was like a environmentalist as well.
Yeah.
Remember, we did it all. We did it all on the
Look, not everybody from Sweden is a shithole, right? Dickhead. Yeah. I mean, what about Max von Sydow? He was pretty cool.
We got some fresh, hot off the press news from 2013. Loretta Fuddy, the woman who confirmed the President Barack Obama's birth certificate was legit, was killed in a plane crash in Hawaii. Fuddy was the only fatality in the crash.
Yeah. I've got some.
Remember when I told you to get excited for Obama list? They started 10 years ago. They seem to be a bit slow off the mark in getting the list going.
I guess unlike Hillary and Bill, they don't have that same work ethic.
Yeah, I mean,
are you saying that
what you like about Hillary and Bill? They don't mind getting a spanner out, do they?
Are you saying that they're lazy malaria victims?
Yeah.
Are they victim of Rachel Carson's bigotry? Rachel Carson is still attacking the Obamas from beyond the grave.
Of course, the crash is still pending. I wonder if it still is pending.
Pending to be forgotten about while you're digging up a 10-year-old news. I mean, that's ancient history.
And then obviously Snopes say that, no... What did Snopes say? Snopes said something.
Just remember, guys, whenever next time... No, this is officially from Ben Shapiro. Anything from 10 years prior is ancient history and therefore irrelevant. So whenever he starts talking about historical events that are more than 10 years old, remind him of that.
Yeah.
No. Here's a news threat off the press. News from the past.
Yeah.
DDT about to be reintroduced as pesticide. This is from 2006. One of the most controversial chemicals on Earth. Well, I'd say probably LSD is more controversial than DDT. Is about to make a comeback as a prime weapon in the fight against malaria in Africa.
I'd say whatever was in that bat that came from the lab is probably the most controversial.
Oh yeah, but that's not a chemical, is it? That's a disease.
Or is it?
Dun dun dun. Scientists say DDT helped
Safe and
eradicate
effective.
malaria from.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, this is a good point, right? This is to talk about like kicking the ladder up from you once you've climbed up. So
Yeah.
USA uses widespread DDT throughout the lands, manages to eliminate malaria from it until it recently got reintroduced by Bill Gates. Oopsie doopsie! Did you know about him releasing millions of malaria-containing mosquitoes into Florida?
That was a feature, not a bug.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, just like Bill Gates, why are you reintroducing malaria into Florida? To eliminate malaria, dickhead? Yeah, but we already eliminated malaria in the USA in the 1940s using DDT. So basically, the USA managed to cure themselves of malaria using this wonder drug, DDT, and then said, "Lol, just kidding. Fuck you, rest of the world. We're banning it now. Tee hee hee."
Yeah.
Scientists say, but was indiscriminately overused, those words again, for agricultural purposes during the 50s and 60s. Beginning in the 70s, the United States and several European nations says, actually, we really like total melanated death from malaria, and we're banning this life-saving drug, which could save the lives of Africans, because we hate Africans, and we want them all to die. And I, as a proud man of Eritrean descent, as Guy Fawkes will attest to, is he in the chat, Guy Fawkes?
Don't know.
Knows that I can't stand the death of Africans from the evil white man oppressor. Booka Booka gives me that. Now, more from National Geographic. DDT to return as a weapon against malaria, experts say. Well, DDT, a notorious symbol of environmental degradation, this is the same thing again, is poised to make a comeback. International experts are touting the widely banned pesticide as the best bet to save millions of human lives threatened by malaria. The disease, which kills mostly children and pregnant women, is largely spread by mosquitoes. The overwhelming majority, 90%, of malaria victims live in Africa, where the disease plagues both human and economic health. Africa Facts maps more. There's no links there, just brackets that says that. More from New York Times. World Health Organization supports wider use of DDT versus malaria. The World Health Organization on Friday, by the way, the World Health Organization occasionally do good things, like saying maybe in the survival rations for like refugees thing, we should have sunflower spread instead of peanut butter spread, because nobody's allergic to sunflowers yet, because we don't use sunflower oil in vaccines compared to using peanut oil. Did you know peanut oil is used in vaccines?
Yeah.
The vaccines have to have a fat-based solvent to solute the active ingredients in. So they use peanut oil because it's like it doesn't trigger an immune response. Except the problem is, once you've put a vaccine into someone, it triggers an immune response, and then the body associates peanuts with that, and that's why people choke on peanuts, because it triggers an autoimmune response, causing anaphylaxis when they try and swallow it. So that's why they now use sunflower spread in there. It's basically peanut butter, but made from sunflower seeds in humanitarian packs. You know that Steve Emery guy, the one who says, let's get it out of the tree. Nice. He got one of those humanitarian packs, and he put it out and just showed how it's like really energy dense but very easy to digest, and it's like ideal for people suffering malnutrition. WHO had a say in what goes in those things, so they're not all dickheads. They're not. It's not the World Health Organization is not populated entirely by Rachel Carson. Is what I'm trying to say. Here we go. Across Africa, exterminate and repel the mosquitoes that cause malaria. The disease kills more than 1 million people a year, 800,000 of them young children in Africa. It's about time. The junk science that triggered the ban on DDT was disproved decades ago. Yet the myth that is somehow dangerous still persists at the cost of over 1 million lives per year. Even this article mentions excessive farm use of DDT, the danger of which is also subject to debate. Some think the WHO actually encouraged the ban on DDT in order to force population reduction in Africa. That would sound like paranoia, but for who? memos written in the 1960s that actually said it. Oh, really? Oh, I want to read those memos. Reuters articles here. DDT is returned to battle malaria in Africa. Read more about the fraud perpetuated on the world in order to ban DDT here. 100 things you should know about DDT. What if I share this list and we all have a read of it? Oops, that page can't be found. Oh, mate, I found like an equivalent of Snopes here.
Have you?
Yeah, it's called junkscience.com. All the junk that's fit to debunk.
Oh.
But yeah, they deleted their DDT article because it's probably a bit too useful. Hundreds
Why don't you see if
things
it's in the Wayback Machine?
to know about. Oh yeah, DDT. That's a good idea. I'm going to see if I can find 100 things you should know about DDT. Junk science. Oh, I've actually found it. They got it on a different page. Look, here we go. By Gordon J. Edwards and Stephen Milroy, 1999, Junk Science. Oh, well, this is 1999, so it's probably actually before, like, proper, like, dickhead stuff. Historical background. Discovered by accident, DDT became one of the greatest public health tools of the 20th century. Overuse harms its overuse harmed how efficient it was. Yeah, it's a fiffy. I made it politically
efficacy.
Yeah, easy for you to say. Diphenyltrichloroethane (DDT) was. How is it? I've no trouble pronouncing chemical names, but efficacy. Fuck off. It's like parallel. I can't pronounce it, so I can't spell it. Yeah, exactly.
I can't pronounce the T in planetarium.
Oh, that guy in South Park.
What?
You don't see that one, Fraser, when they go to the planetarium.
Planetarium.
Because the bloke can't pronounce the T in planetarium. So he calls it the planetarium.
Oh, I've heard this story before, by the way, about the discovery of DDT. It was discovered. It was first synthesized for no purpose in 1874 by German chemist Otto Seidler. Right, so basically, he was at university. It's like, right, for your dissertation, you've got to make a new compound. Very well, I shall make dichloroethane. And then he presented it to professors. Like, but what does it do? I do not know. I've made a new compound. Please pass me so I may get my degree. And then he got passed, and it's like, good. And then it was forgotten about for a long time. In 1939, Dr. Paul Müller independently produced DDT. Müller found that DDT quickly killed flies, aphids, mosquitoes, walking sticks, I assume that's stick insects, and Colorado potato beetles. Müller and the Geigy Corporation patented DDT in Switzerland in 1940, England 1942, and US 1943. The first large-scale use of DDT occurred in 1943, when 500 gallons of the substance were produced by Merck and Company and delivered to Italy to help squelch a rapidly spreading epidemic of louse-borne typhus. Later in 1943, the US Army issued a small tin boxes 10% DDT dust to its soldiers around the world who used it to kill body lice, head lice, and crab lice. Müller won the Nobel Prize in 1948 for his work on DDT. Peak usage occurred in 1962, where 80 million kilograms of DDT were used.
Peak use was 2 years before she died, wasn't it? She died in 1968, didn't she?
Yeah. 82 million kilograms were produced. All right, so they're 2 million kilograms spare. In May 1955, the 8th World Health Assembly adopted a global malaria eradication campaign based on the widespread use of DDT against mosquitoes and of anti-malarial drugs to treat malaria and to eliminate the parasite in humans. As a result of the campaign, malaria was eradicated by 1967 from all developed countries where the disease was endemic, and large areas of tropical Asia and Latin America were freed from risk of infection. The malaria eradication campaign was only launched in 3 countries of tropical Africa, since it was not considered feasible in the others. Despite these achievements, improvements in the malaria situation cannot be maintained indefinitely by the time-limited, highly prescriptive and centralised programs. To only a few chemicals does man owe a great debt to his DDT. In little more than 2 decades, DDT has prevented 500 million human deaths due to malaria that otherwise would have been inevitable. That's from National Academy of Sciences in 1970. It is believed that malaria afflicts between 300 and 500 million every year, causing up to 2.7 million deaths, mainly among children under 5 years old. That's African News, 1999. Some mosquitoes became resistant, in quote marks, to DDT. There is persuasive evidence that anti-malarial operations did not produce mosquito resistance to DDT. That crime, and in a very real sense it was a crime, can relate to the intemperate and inappropriate use of DDT by farmers, especially cotton growers. They used the insecticide at levels that would accelerate, if not actually induce, the selection of resistant population of mosquitoes. Resistance by the cotton is a fucking cancer in this world. It's just a horrible crop.
What is?
Cotton.
Okay.
Like there used to be something called the Aral Sea, which was then destroyed. Oh, and by the way, anytime someone says, "Oh, capitalism is destroying our world," yeah, the Aral Sea was done by the Soviet Union to make irrigation for cotton. It's not coming back. Resistance may be a misleading term when discussing DDT and mosquitoes. While some mosquitoes develop by biochemical, physiological mechanisms of resistance to the chemical, DDT can also provoke strong avoidance behaviour in some mosquitoes, so they spend less time in areas where DDT has been applied. This still reduces mosquito-human contact. This avoidance behaviour, exhibited when malaria vectors avoid insecticides by not entering or by rapidly exiting spirit houses, should raise serious questions about the overall value of current physiological and biochemical resistance tests. The continued efficacy of DDT in Africa, India, Brazil, and Mexico, where 69% of all reported cases of malaria occur, and where vectors are physiologically resistant to DDT, excluding Brazil, serves as one indicator that repellency is very important in preventing intolerant transmission of malaria. And that was by some Swedish people. No, sorry, Swiss people. Advocacy against DDT. DDT was demagogued out of use. Rachel Carson, cunt-in-chief, said, DDT is a biocide. We've already said that bit. Population control advocates blamed DDT for increasing third world population. In the 1960s, World Health Organization, the WHO, organisers believe there was no alternative to the overpopulation problem, but to assure that up to 40% of the children in poor nations would die of malaria. As an official of the Agency for the International Development stated, how dare you, rather dead than alive, and righteously reproducing. Oh, sorry, that was by Desowitz. That's not a Swedish name. The environmental movements used DDT as a means to increase their power. Charles Verster, chief scientist for the Environmental Defence Fund, the EDF, commented, if the environmentalists, basically win on DDT, they will achieve a level of authority they've never seen before. I love the blacks, they're brilliant, they're proper British. In a sense, much more is at stake than DDT. Science journals were biased against DDT. Philip Abelson, editor of Science, informed Dr. Thomas Jukes that Science would never publish any article on DDT that was not antagonistic. Oh, good to see you're maintaining scientific rigour in science journalism there.
Yeah.
That's very scientific of you. Not having
all we need is ethics in scientific journalism, Hobbit.
And actually, yes, we do. Please see back to the previous episode where we did on the Pergamon Press. Do we call it Pergamon Press? Or Ethics in Science Journalism?
Don't know, I can't remember. It
literally was a big, long thing about what's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad called? Robert Maxwell.
Robert Maxwell.
He owned Pergamon Press, which then became Elsevier Publishing. Funny enough, I was talking with a scientist recently about Elsevier Publishing, and she, unfortunately it's a she also agreed like it was bullshit. Because they're saying that so long as she's a member of the faculty, she gets access to all the white papers for free as it's part of the tuition fees. But one of the reasons tuition fees are so expensive is to gain access to all this stuff, which should be available for free. But yeah, again, see the episode on ethics in science journalism. But as an Assistant Attorney General, William Ruckelshaus stated on August 31st, 19... Oh, yeah, we're doing that American thing, aren't we?
American thing.
Oh, the putting the month, date, year,
Right.
dating. Yeah, it's like let's have hours, seconds, minutes. Yeah. In the US Court of Appeals, that DDT is an amazing as an exemplary record of safe use, does not cause a toxic response in man or other animals. And it's not, but yes, but it's unironically safe and effective. And that's why it was banned. There's another drug, ivermectin, perhaps you've heard of it, which the WHO actually calls safe and effective, generally recognised as in a list of essential medicines. But then people's like, oh, you're using horse dewormer. I mean, it's like saying that, oh, you use shampoo. It's like, oh, what? You use horse shampoo. It's like, bitch. It turns out that, it's just this idea of like, oh, why do you want to use something that's for horses? For fuck's sake. It turns out human medicine is also used on, oh, you're using ketamine.
I was going to say the same people that probably go out and do a load of fucking ket at the weekend, don't they?
Yeah, it's literally like, what are you using horse tranquilizer for? Don't you realise that's for horses?
Yeah.
Silly humans, ketamine's not for you. So what's this? Assistant Attorney General William Ruckelshaus said, safe and effective is not harmful. Carcinogenic claims regarding DDT are unproven speculation. But on the 2nd of May 1971, year of our Lord 1971 AD, addressed to the Ubudubudubun Society, Ruckelshaus stated, as a member of the society myself, I was highly suspicious of this compound, to put it mildly. But I was compelled by the facts to temper my emotions because the best scientific evidence available did not warrant such a precipitate action. However, we in the EPA have streamlined our administrative procedures so we can now suspend registration of DDT and other persistent pesticides at any time during the period of review. Ruckelshaus later explained his ambivalence by stating that as an Assistant Attorney General, he was an advocate for the government, but as head of the EPA, he was a maker of policy. Environmental activists, my god, this is going to take a while. I'm only at 16 and there's 100 points about why DDT is safe and effective. Environmental activists plan to defame scientists to defend DDT. In an uncontradicted deposition in a federal lawsuit, Victor Yanacone, a founder of the Environmental Defense Fund, testified that he attended a meeting in which Roland Clement of the Ubudubun Society, an official... How do you pronounce... I'm going to put it in the chat. Audubon Society and officials of the Environmental Defense Fund decided that University of California Berkeley professor and DDT supporter Thomas H. Dukes was to be muzzled by attacking his credibility. Oh, a bit like Dr. Andrew Wakefield. He had some legitimate concerns based on his observations, and he's vilified. Not even allowed to mention his name
Weird
now.
that,
So, yeah. EPA hearings. DDT was banned by an EPA administrator who ignored the decision of his own administrative law judge. Extensive hearings on DDT before an EPA administrative law judge occurred during 1971 to 72. The EPA hearing examiner, Judge Edmund Sweeney, concluded that DDT is not a carcinogenic hazard to man. DDT is not a mutagenic or tetragenic hazard to man. The use of DDT under regulations involved here do not have a deleterious effect on freshwater fish, estuarine or organisms, wild birds or other wildlife. Take that, Rachel Carson.
DDT got slandered by some Dippy Bird's book.
It literally is. The Silent Spring is an inconvenient truth of the 60s. It is. I mean, people have said about how unscientific it is.
Yeah, but
just
like
they do with Inconvenient Truth.
Inconvenient Truth pretends to be science. Like, that's not. It's a fiction book.
No, that's the thing. The Silent Spring pretends to be a non-fiction. It was awarded the best non-fiction book of 1952 or whenever it was published.
But it was fiction.
I know it's fiction, but the fact is, they were pretending it wasn't. They were like, "Oh, this is what will happen if you continue to use DDT. All the birds will die." It literally is just.
Dimensional Lizard says it's Audubon.
Audubon. Yeah, that's what I was thinking it was. So, and then Sweeney went on to say, "I wish Rachel Carson was still alive. I'd smack her in her fucking whore face." Overruling the EPA hearing examiner, EPA administrator. Yeah, okay, can we just stop using the term EPA? Administrator Ruckelshaus banned DDT in 1972. Ruckelshaus never attended a single hour of the 7 months of EPA hearings on DDT. Ruckelshaus aides reported he did not even read the transcripts of the EPA hearings on DDT. So, you know what? This
pocket of big anti DDT.
He was in the pocket of Rachel Carson's rotting pussy, is what he was in. After reversing the EPA hearing examiner's decision, Ruckelshaus refused to release materials upon which the ban was based because he didn't have materials. He literally just I made it up as I went along.
And the little puppies die. Is that
yeah. Yeah, it was just like, look, facts can't get in the way of my feelings. I am a woman. My name is Mary Ruckelshaus. Ruckelshaus, that's a Dutch name, right? Have I mentioned to people in this episode yet how the Dutch are scum? Because they really are. No. Well, I have now. The Dutch are scum. 4. Human exposure. Actual human exposure has always been far lower than the acceptable level. Human ingestion of DDT was estimated to average around 0.0026 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day. About 0.18 milligrams per day. What? Okay. So human ingestion of DDT is a very small amount. In 1967, the daily average intake of DDT by 20 men with a high occupational exposure was estimated to be 17.5 to 18 milligram per man per day, as compared to an average of 0.04 milligram per man per day for the general population. Dr. Alice Ottoboni, toxicologist for the state of California, estimate the average American ingests between... Oh, really? This is a really bad... You're supposed to use standard index notification for this. 0.0006 milligrams per day and 0.0001 milligrams per day. You should be using nanograms or femtograms at that point. It's just so you're not dealing with millions of grams. Yeah, I mean, how many elephants is that?
How many swimming pools is that?
How many teaspoons of DDT is it? In the United States, the average amount of DDT, and DD eaten daily in food in 1981 was 2.24.
How many double-decker buses is that? I bet
was 2.24 micrograms a day. That's equivalent to a billionth of a double-decker bus. Not even that. With root and leafy vegetables containing the highest amount. Meat, fish and poultry also contain very low levels of these compounds. The World Health Organization said acceptable daily intake DDT for humans at 0.0 milligrams per day. So that's 2 orders of magnitude greater than what people are having. Air samples in the United States have shown levels of DDT ranging from 0.40 followed by a 1 to 1.6 microgram. Oh, fucking hell! Now they're changing the scale. Fuck off.
Well, right. This is how you know when they're lying, isn't it? When they keep changing the scale all the time.
Right. So, in order not to bamboozle you with bullshit and changing scales, the amount found in the samples was an infinitesimally small amount, which you can find out if you go for Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, 1989 Public Health Statement, DDT, DDE, and DDD. It's an infinitesimally small amount, nowhere near the acceptable upper limit. Depending on the location you're sampling. Most reported samples were collected in the mid-1970s, and present levels are expected to be much lower. DDT and DDE have been reported in surface waters at levels of 0.01 micrograms, not milligrams, micrograms. That's a millionth of a gram per litre. While DDT generally is not found in surface water, national soil testing programs in the 1970s reported levels in soil ranging from
So there you go.
0.18.
When was this report made, Hobbit?
This report was made in 1989, based on samples taken in
They've
1970.
always lied and obfuscated to you. It's nothing new.
Well, I mean, Fraser could attest to that with all the mud floods and Tartaria stuff. The thing is, this lying to us is part and parcel of them being it. Chapter 5, Cancer. DDT was alleged to be a liver carcinogen in Silent Spring and the breast carcinogen in Our Stolen Future. So remember...
Hold on, the carcinogen comes from Silent Spring, a fiction book.
Yes. Feeding primates more than 33,000 times the average daily human exposure to DDT was inconclusive with respect to a carcinogenic effect of DDT in non-human primates. A nested case control study was conducted to examine the association between serum concentrations of DD in PCBs, and I assume that's not printed circuit boards, but something else.
Well,
and
yeah, that's some sort of pollutant, isn't it?
Yeah. Development cancer up to 20 years later. Cases, number equals 346, and controls, number is equals 346, were selected from cohorts of women who donated blood in 74, 89, or both, and were matched on age, race, menopausal status, and month of year of blood donation. Even after 20 years of follow-up, exposure to relatively high concentrations of DDE or PCBs showed no evidence of contributing to an increased risk of breast cancer. To prospectively evaluate relationships of organochlorine pesticides and PCBs with breast cancer, a case control study nested in a cohort using the Columbia, Missouri Breast Cancer Serum Bank. Women donated blood in 77 to 87, and during up to 9.5 years.
PCBs are polychlorinated biphenyl.
Oh, okay. Glad we cleared that up. So yeah, this found result of the study did not support a role for organochloride pesticides in PCBs and breast cancer etiology. Pooled analysis whether exposure to DT was associated with the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
So use of PCBs is commonly divided into closed and open applications. Example of closed applications include coolants and insulating fluids, transformer oil for transformers and capacitors, such as those used in old fluorescent light ballasts, hydraulic fluids, lubricating and cutting oils and the like. In contrast, the major open application of PCBs was in carbonless copy (NCR) paper, which evenly presents results in paper contamination.
We've at work there's a bus, and its automatic transmission fluid has been cooked, so it had to all be drained, and it fucking stinks.
Yeah.
It's a stinky sulphurous stench. So non-Hodgkin's lymphoma among male farmers. No evidence was found for an association between exposure to DDT and risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. We measured plasma levels of DD and PCBs specifically amongst 240 women who gave blood sample in 89 and 1990, who were subsequently given a diagnosis of breast cancer before June 1st, 92. We compared these levels with those measured and matched and controlled women who breast cancer did not vet. Data on DD was available for 236 pairs, and data on PCBs was available for 230 pairs. Our data do not support the hypothesis that exposure to DDT and PCBs increases the risk of breast cancer. Weakly estrogenic organochlorine compounds such as PCBs, DDT, and DD are not the cause of breast cancer. To examine any possible links between exposure to DDE, the persistent metabolite for the pesticide dicarphane, DDT, and breast cancer, 256 postmenopausal women breast cancer, 341 controls, matched for age and center were studied. Women breast cancer at adipose DD concentrations 9.2% lower than control women. No increased risk of breast cancer was found in higher concentrations. The odds ratio of breast cancer adjusted for age and center, the highest versus lowest for DD distribution was 0.73, 95% confident interval. No correlation at the population level can be demonstrated to exposure to DDT and the incidence of cancer at any site. Syrian golden hamsters were fed for their lifespan of diet containing 0, 125, 250 and 500 parts per million of DDT. The incidence of tumour-bearing animals was 13% amongst control females and ranged between 11 to 20% in treated females. In control males, 8% had tumours. The incidence of tumour-bearing animals among treated males was 70 to 80%. Also, it turns out if you feed a vast amount of DDT, like in the food of hamsters, they get slightly more cancer. All right, that's it. Ban it. Fuck it. Malaria's here to stay. None of the 35 workers heavily exposed to DDT, 600 times the average US exposure for 9 to 19 years, developed cancer. Men who voluntarily ingested 35 milligrams of DDT daily for nearly 2 years were carefully examined for years and developed no adverse effects. DDT was found to reduce tumours in animals. Rodent tests for a carcinogenic effect of DDT, and TDE produced equivocal results despite extremely high doses, 642 parts per million, 3,925 parts per million of TDE, and 939 parts per million of DDE. Eggshell finning. DDT was alleged to have twinned egg bird shells. By Rachel fucking Carson! Fuck you, bitch! Your breast cancer wasn't caused by DDT. Would have been ironic if it was. Many experiments in cage, but it would have been even more ironic. It's like, well, we got this chemotherapy for you. It'll work. Do you want to know what the chemical is? It's DDT. Many experiments in caged birds demonstrate that DDT and its metabolites do not cause serious eggshell finning, even at levels many hundreds of times greater than wild birds would ever accumulate. Right, and then there's just a whole... Oh my god! Like, this experiment's been repeated dozens of times by, like, very different people across the world. There's just a whole list of, like, footnotes here. I'm not reading them out. Summary, there was no correlation between concentrations of pesticides and eggshell finning. Experiments associating DDT with eggshell finning involved doses much higher than would ever be encountered in the wild. So that just... in well-controlled experiments using white leghorn chickens and Japanese quail, dietary PCBs, DDT and related compounds produced no detrimental effects on eggshell quality. A reduction in hatchability were found with DDT up to 100 parts per million. It's huge. Laboratory eggshell finning required massive doses of DDT, far in excess of anything expected in nature, and massive laboratory doses produced much less finning than is seen in many of the thin-shelled eggs collecting in the wild. Years of carefully controlled feeding experiments involved levels of DDT as high as present in most wild birds, without no tremors, mortality, finning of eggshells, nor reproductive interference. Fuck you, Rachel Carson. 1,000 deaths are not enough for you. Wellington UA. Eggshell finning is not correlated with pesticide residues. Among brown pelican eggshells examined, there was no correlation between DDT residue and cell thickness. Eggshells of red-tailed hawks were reported to be 6% thicker during years of DDT usage. To the extent eggshell finning occurred, many other substances and conditions could have been responsible. Oil has been associated with eggshell finning. Anon, National Wildlife Federation, from 1979. There's just a lot of stuff that I'm not reading. Lead has been associated with eggshell finning. That is probably more likely. Mercury has been associated with eggshell finning. That is not a surprise. Stress from noise, fear, or excitement and disease are associated with eggshell finning. Older birds produce thinner shells. Normal eggshells become 5% thinner as developing embryos withdraw calcium for bone development. Larger birds tend to produce thicker shelled eggs. Dehydration is associated with thinner eggshells. Temperature extremes are associated with thinner eggshells. Decreased illumination is associated with thinner eggshells. Human and predator intrusion is associated with thinner eggshells. Simple restraint interferes with the transport of calcium throughout the body of birds, preventing adequate calcium from reaching the shell gland and forming good shells. Uncovering eggs after parent birds are removed or frightened off exposes eggs to potentially fatal chilling, especially in northern or higher altitude locations. Phosphorus deficiency is associated with thinner shells. Calcium deficiency is associated with thinner shells. This repeats a bit, but this is the thing with science. You have to be like really exhaustive sometimes, and it gets quite autistic. Eggshell deficiencies were attributed to DDT and DDE by US fish and wildlife researchers, Rachel Carson Simps, even though the birds have been placed on low calcium diets. Cutting illumination from 16 hours a day to 8 hours a day at the same time as DDT feeding began had no significant adverse effect on shower quality. Shower quality was only adversely impacted after large amounts of DDT were injected into birds. Oh wow, so you're telling me like a topical insecticide when injected into people is harmful? I mean, the thing is, I could be injected with tap water, or correction, a test subject could be injected with tap water, and you know what would happen? They would get ill. If you inject someone with tap water, they will get ill. It is not healthy. Saline solution is a purified product because tap water is nasty stuff. However, when you adjust it, no ill effects happen. Well, apart from the fact it tastes nasty. Bald eagles, DDT was blamed for the decline in the bald eagle population. We're almost 2/3 through this. Bald eagles were reportedly threatened with extinction in 1921, 25 years before widespread use of DDT. Alaska paid over $100,000 in bounties for 115,000 bald eagles between 1970 and 1942. But, okay, that's probably not going to help conservation efforts. Like, hey, can you go out and steal some bald eagle nests? We'll pay you for it. The bald eagle had vanished from New England by 1937. After 50 years of heavy and widespread use of DDT, Audubon Society ornithologists counted 25% more eagles per observer in 1960 during the pre-DDT 1941 bird census. No significant correlation between DDE residues and shell fitness. This was reported in a large series of bald eagle eggs. We're going to repeat this shell fitness thing probably a few more times. Thickness of eggshells from Florida, Maine, and Wisconsin was found not to be correlated with DDT residues. U.S. Forest Service studies report an increase in nesting bald eagle productivity, 51 in 1964 to 107 in 1970. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service biologists fed large doses of DDT to captive bald eagles for 112 days, including that DDT... Oh, hang on. Mr. Mengler voice. DDT residues encountered by eagles in the environment were not adversely affected bald eagles or their eggs. Wildlife authorities attributed bald eagle... Oh, and that footnote is by Stickle L, 1966. So that is one of the scientists that Rachel Carson, who wasn't a scientist, worked with. Fuck you, Rachel Carson. Can we... Hey, Hemi.
What?
Can we title this episode "Fuck You, Rachel Carson"? Will YouTube allow that?
No, I think YouTube might get a bit upset with that.
Can we call it Rachel Carson the Liar?
I'll just
Rachel Carson.
Hobbit has questions.
Hobbit does have questions. Hobbit has 100 statements about Rachel Carson. Every bald eagle found dead in the US between 61 and 6. Sorry.
Can anyone die from these fucking DMT fucking?
They've had a go, but it don't seem to have happened, does it?
Joe Rogan's
killing me now.
Joe Rogan's like, hey guys, you ever done DDT?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, every time we see is it DDT? Every time you say it, I just say DMT.
The pesticide, yeah. Sorry, I was just like, hey.
Yeah.
We need that quote of Alex Jones saying, I know about the DDT, the DDT, the DDT. Joe Rogan's on his show. He's being the demons, which are the Clockwork Owl, saying, the DDT, the DDT. Yeah, you know else took the DDT? The Aztecs, Joe Rogan. That's right, they did ceremonies with ayahuasca where they'd skin people alive when they were tripping. How about that? The DDT, the DDT, the DDT. It's fucked up, Joe! It's taken by Satanists who take out hearts from I can't do Alex Jones, but basically he's screaming about how people high on yopo, ayahuasca, or toad venom would like skin people alive and bathe in their blood. And yeah, turns out Aztecs will do that sober. They don't need like the DDT to do that sort of thing. Hey, they should do like the spots like we found like human skulls.
What's that Mexican gang called? Summit 13. Like
MS-13
MS-13 are living proof of that, aren't they?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. I mean, it's like the Aztecs never went away. They just rebranded.
It was rebranded.
Although, I think they found like human skulls were thinning after trepanation, which had nothing to do with DDT. US number 76. So, we're 3/4 of the way through there. Oh no, I haven't done 75. Every bald eagle found dead in the US between 61 and 77, 266 birds, was analysed by the US Fish and Wildlife Service. That's the organisation which Rachel fucking Carson worked in. Fuck you, bitch. Who
No,
reported no deaths.
she didn't. The woman who wrote the article did.
Rachel Carson did work for the US Fish and Wildlife
Oh, did
Service.
she? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she was moonlighting as a writer of unscientific fucking fairy tales. That makes An Inconvenient Truth seem credible in comparison.
Well, it's a fiction book. Why is anybody taking a fiction book seriously? At least Al Gore pretended his book was serious.
Well, this is the thing, right? You see, people pretended it was serious back then, and they described it.
Micronesia's going to be in the border.
It literally won awards for best non-fiction.
Non-fiction.
So that's the thing, right? It's like, people like years from now will say, "Oh, An Inconvenient Truth." That was just fiction. It was speculative fiction on what could have been. It was never supposed to be taken seriously.
Well, to be fair, Al Gore was never supposed to be taken seriously, was he?
Man, bear pig. But the point is, people like Rachel Carson, Al Gore, and Greta Thunberg, they're not supposed to be taken seriously. But now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we're going to have bans on internal combustion engines, and you can't have plastic straws anymore.
Fuck, what? Is this the reason why we can't have plastic straws?
Yeah, people like her. They started all this bullshit.
Yeah, because China kills all the marine wildlife of the world by dredging up the ocean floors.
They literally just throw the rubbish straight in the river.
Yeah, but they're also like scraping up.
It's like a toilet but bigger. They think it's like a toilet but bigger. You just flush it away and it disappears.
It's like a competition between India and China to see who can pollute the most. And like Indians are busy shitting 24/7. The Chinese are like, ha ha ha! You're small fry. We dump pure hydrochloric acid into ocean.
I don't know, the Californians are coming up on the rails though, aren't they?
So
Did you see the Lotus Eaters this week?
San Francisco is a literal drop in the poo bucket compared to India. I mean, a
drop in the latrine.
Yeah, there's a little stream at the bottom of my lane. That is San Francisco in comparison to the Thames or Avonmouth. It just can't shine a candle to the stink that is India. All right, so 76. U.S. Fish and Wildlife says by
the great poo robbery that we did on JD.
Poo robbery?
Yeah, where someone nicked 250 grand's worth of poo from a warehouse.
Oh yeah, that happened in India, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the police were working because that was a high priority thing. They needed to find the poo thieves to bring the poo back.
You bring the poo thieves to justice.
Yeah. By extracting all the poo from them to make up for the poo they took.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shooting, power line electrocution, and collisions.
The government, it's a little less straightforward because the government were actually paying people for shit at the time. This is
were they making fertilizer out of it or something?
I can't remember what the scheme was, but it was cow shit. It wasn't human shit. But yeah, right. The government were paying people for shit at the time. That's why this was so lucrative. This heist.
Can we call the title of this episode Rachel Carson, I Don't Appreciate You?
Yeah.
That would do.
Robert's happy now.
Yeah.
We've found a happy medium.
Yeah, that's it. Someone's going to draw a smuggler on that too. I don't appreciate you, Rachel Carson. Hey, what's a noologist?
I'd spell a name.
It's there in the picture, which is on the screen of the Fortean Words.
Oh, yeah.
Rachel is Raquel, and then it's not Carlson, it's Carson.
Carson.
Rachel Carson. Fuck you, Rachel Carson. Greta Thunberg. Bitch. Oologists amass great collections of falcon eggs in peregrine falcon populations. Oh, it just says they did. There's in falcons among the Hudson River was attributed to falconers, egg collectors, pigeon fanciers, and disturbance by construction workers and others.
Pigeon fanciers, are they like furries?
Yeah, actually, pretty much.
What a weird name for it, though.
Yeah, but also pigeon fanciers are a strange people, so it's the correct term for people that collect pigeons. They're fanciers of pigeons. They do. Yeah, Nikola Tesla fell in love with a pigeon. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. He did a lot of good stuff, but he did go a bit batty towards the end.
At the time?
Yes, that's well. Actually, he probably wasn't. He was a teetotaler.
And you say there was no ill effects of a Tesla coil. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, there's probably ill effects of your life's work being
making the scientists gay.
The Tesla coils making the scientists pigeon fanciers.
Yeah.
Tesla coil makes man attracted to birds. Yeah.
Actually, you know what? If I type in Nikola Tesla pigeon rule 34, see what comes up.
Oh no!
We've just had a look at images. There's a picture of a pigeon with a Tesla coil on its head, but it's not lewd. It's just a bit silly. Okay. I'm just gonna post that in the back chat. There you can have a Nikola Tesla riding a pigeon as a bookmark. And,
a robot pigeon.
Yeah, it's a robot pigeon, man.
Oh, safe search is on moderate. Let's turn safe search off.
Oh god.
No, there's still nothing pornographic here.
There you go. Nikola Tesla riding his robot pigeon is on.
Well, if I go into the
home be
website,
a market for
of degeneracy, google.co.uk, Nikola Tesla pigeon. Oh, pigeon is. There's no D in pigeon. Did you know that? Pigeon.
Yes. I know it's spelled pigeon.
I thought it's pigeon.
No, it's pigeon.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. No, google.co.uk gives horrible stuff. Fucking hell. What the that's not even a bloody pigeon. That's just like some woman's ass. What the fuck? This is like, what the hell has this got to do with pigeons? I don't think you can show that on YouTube, though.
What is this? What is that?
It's literally the first result of Nikola Tesla pigeon rule 34.
Okay, Nicole. Okay, Tesla. I'm going to sit on your face.
Is that it? I mean, that is pretty tame, isn't it? No.
Thick. That's thick. That is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why is she dressed in like a medieval gym style? It's like a medieval gym wear, isn't it? She's wearing.
What the fuck is that's not even Nikola Tesla. That's Scrooge McDuck. That's not a pigeon. Look at this. Look at this fucking. What's the caption say?
McDuck. Nah, it's McFuck now. Speaking of, here's 10 grand now on your knees. What the hell?
It's like 50 Shades of Scrooge McDuck.
Jesus Christ, I bet.
What we walked into?
But why is Scrooge McDuck also got massive boobs?
I don't know. Why does he look like a muscle-bound, grotesque freak?
With boobs. Look, his nipples hanging out the bottom of his crop top.
Oh, God. Why is his shirt so dirty? Can't he... I mean, doesn't he, like, have, like,
and his pull-back pouch?
Is it supposed to be reflections of the pile of gold he sat on? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I don't want to think about it.
I don't want to know.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not seeing any signs of eggshell thinning in these pictures.
Yeah,
I'm looking.
Thinning on Scrooge McDuck, is there?
Yeah, no, there's certainly not.
Oh,
but what the hell was that to do with Nikola Tesla?
Nikola Tesla isn't real.
Tesla bot. Tesla bot couldn't comes with bigger assets. Oh, that's Tesla, but the Elon Musk thing. I don't like that. No, that's no good.
I don't think she should have been allowed to call it Tesla.
Yeah.
What should have called it Edison?
Just call it X. Like he's calling everything else fucking X, including Twitter now.
Yeah.
X.
Yeah, Twitter's X now, Fraser. Did you not know?
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Okay.
At least it's not fucking
post.
blue. I've got to give it that much.
Well, true, but what? So what's he gonna have? X banking, X space, fucking SpaceX, social X.
Oh look, I've just opened up Twitter.
Oh,
Booty slapping is some sort of sport now.
Interdimensional Lizard says Tesla was not a furry; he was a feathery.
Yeah.
Oh, so in conclusion, the list says a lot of things about oh my god, there's more than 100. 106. Some birds multiplied so well during the DDT years they became pests. Blackbirds, redwings. We can only tolerate the damage caused by the redwing. 15 million tons of grain was destroyed annually, enough to feed 90 million people. 107. 109. DDT was mistaken for other organochlorines. 110. 111. The coating of aluminum. It's about aluminum, so
Aluminium.
What the fuck? I'm just looking at some video of some weird slime thing eating a crab.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah.
That's just horrible. No.
You seen it?
No, thank you.
Have a look at that.
I will look at it. I'll just read the number 111 in conclusion. That's the last on the list. The coating of aluminum foil used to wrap
It's like Venom
specimens
from the comics. It's just like
Formalin.
eating somebody.
And sodium sulfate may also contain PCBs or oils that might have interfered with analysis. Right, so it turns out the aluminium foils you're wrapping your specimens is fucking...
Oh no, someone's just put a screen grab up of that new Strange New Worlds, the musical episode. You've got Klingons dancing and singing.
I'll pass.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, when people try and say, hey, check out this creepy thing about nature, I'm like, no, I don't need to see that. Like, unfortunately, I saw it today, and then I didn't have the wherewithal to say, oh, I should not watch this. But it's basically about a beetle that survived going through a frog's digestive tract, comes out the other end. And I regret seeing that now. But yeah, in conclusion, fuck you, Rachel Carson. I don't appreciate you. I'm glad you're dead. And I'm really sad you reincarnate as Greta Thunberg. So fuck you again, bitch. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.